Alright, we are going to see if we can tackle a couple of things with this video. First and foremost, we're going to see if we can record all of it in one take because I am a lazy son of a bitch and I do not want to edit. I've been up since 5 a.m. I just got back from Canada this morning. And we're also going to see if we can go 20 minutes rambling about my favorite damn character of all time, running on this amount of water. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. Yo guys, what is going on? NGS back again for another video, here to review one of my most anticipated movies of the year, a movie that I've been looking forward to for a few years now, and it's a film that I've been hyping up, but at the same time, I've been quiet as a church mouse about it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking nothing but Spider-Man Homecoming, and what I said in that intro is a fact. A movie that I've been looking forward to, but I've not really talked much about. If any of you guys are old school fans of the NGS channel, if you've been following me for a few years now, you know that I love Spider-Man. He's my all-time favorite character. I've learned so much following the stories of Peter Parker through the Marvel comic universe, you know, back when it was good. Ugh, I can't stand Marvel comics today. That's another video for another time. But for some strange reason, I was kind of quiet on Spider-Man Homecoming. There was a lot to be excited about. It was Spider-Man's first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He was getting his own movie, and it was just something that we've all wanted since the early days of the MCU. And I really didn't do any videos on it. In fact, I think outside of the casting announcement of Tom Holland, that was really the last time I dedicated an entire video to Spider-Man. Of course, outside of the reaction I did to the Civil War trailer and whenever I discussed it on the NXP podcast. I guess you can call this sort of a experimentation. When you have all these like tentpole franchises, Spider-Man, Star Wars, Marvel characters, DC characters, when they're doing all of these movies, on some level, if you're following it consistently, you kind of create, I don't want to say unrealistic expectations, but you kind of start forming an idea, a vision of a movie in your mind. And when you finally sit down in the theater and watch it on opening night, in most cases, you're like, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be. And that can be very positive and it can also be very negative. So for Spider-Man Homecoming, outside of, you know, whatever news somebody posted about a casting update and the trailers, I kind of kept quiet about it. It was very strange, but to be honest, I think that was for the best because it really did impact my overall enjoyment of the movie. If you couldn't tell already, I loved the freaking crap out of Spider-Man Homecoming. There's so much to talk about. So let's just get into this damn review almost 3 minutes in. I can't see how far we into the video, but I know from all the times I've been rambling like no tomorrow, I know we're probably way past the point in the video where we lose viewer retention. So I'm not going to structure this like normal videos that I do where I go down, you know, certain things in the movie, like blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to freestyle and I'm just going to go from there. So if it does sound kind of shaky, hey, what do you expect? You've been following me for a few years now. Y'all know this, right? You know, it's par for the course. Yeah. Anyways, we might as well just, you know, branch off from what I was talking about with expectations. You know, there was a lot riding on Spider-Man Homecoming. You know, everyone loved Spider-Man's debut in Civil War, and that was great, but this was another Spider-Man movie. Not only was this the second reboot in the past, you know, 10 years, but this was another Spider-Man film. This is the 6th movie in less than 20 years. And for a lot of people, that can sort of create franchise fatigue if it's not a consistent, cohesive thing. And to be honest, I was thinking that in the back of my mind, but at the forefront, I was thinking, okay, you know what? This is a fresh new take for Spider-Man. You know, he's in with Marvel. He's got the good graces of the people at Marvel. This is very much a Marvel movie that Sony's footing the bill for, so it'll be great. But on some level, I was kind of worried about the square one effect, which by square one, it means the reboot. Like, yes, they're not going to tell the story of Uncle Ben getting clapped for the 15th time. They're not going to do that, but at the same time, this is a young Peter Parker. This is a Peter Parker that they're going to establish all over again. And to be honest, I think that those fears and expectations that I had were for the best because it just goes to show you how they can blow all of your expectations on what you think they're going to do out of the freaking water, man. So let's start off the review with that. Let's talk about Peter Parker's origin, because this is still very much an origin story. Granted, it doesn't show Uncle Ben getting clapped for the 15th time. I just love saying that. It's so funny, but at the same time, it's kind of sad, because rest in peace, Uncle Ben. but it shows Peter Parker in a new light, something we haven't seen in previous Spider-Man movies. Take both the Sam Raimi iteration and the Mark Webb version. Both of them had Peter Parker in high school, but not for much. I mean, in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, they had him there for like a movie and some change. And in the Sam Raimi movies, that nigga was there for like 10 minutes and he graduated, bro. But high school never really played a big part of the Peter Parker character there. It was just something that he was in, and that was it. He had the tragic origin happen, suits up, I'm Spider-Man. And that's what happened. There was like no in between. And I guess you can attribute that to the fact that both of those movies were trying to, well, in the case of the Webb movies, because that was post, Marvel Cinematic Universe, they were trying to set up something more grandiose and greater. So they just felt like, oh, you kind of already know the Spider-Man character and what he goes through. So yeah, we're not going to show all the little details. In this movie, it actually shows what it means to be a kid in high school. No, it's not the typical generic, oh, teens got the growing pains, they're trying to get the girl, and yada, yada, yada. No, this is a movie about a young superhero. What it means to be a kid with superpowers and how that'll affect your life. It's done in the most organic and natural way that I think we've seen in any medium. Like any medium, not even just comic book characters, but movies that handle kids getting superpowers. This is the best way that it's been handled, because it shows that while it is cool being a superhero and everything, in some cases that can affect you in more ways than one, because Peter feels like he's destined to do something more than what he is. He has these, powers. He has this suit. He's in contact with the Avengers. He feels like he can do much more than just the usual ground level stuff like stopping a bike thief or helping an old lady with directions that nets you churros. Now, I don't know why he would turn down free churros, because churros are freaking awesome, but he feels like he's meant for something greater. And what I love about the movie is that it shows that sometimes that naivete, being that naive, is that the phrase and how it goes? I don't know, I'm trying to sound smart, but it's going horribly wrong. It shows that in some cases that can do more harm than good. And I'm not really going to get into spoilers on stuff that happens. I mean, if you've seen the trailers, you know what I'm talking about when I say it can do more harm than good. But it just goes to show you that this is not a Spider-Man movie. This is a movie about Peter Parker not becoming Spider-Man, but figuring out what it means to be Peter Parker and how he fits in the world. And the next step would be him becoming Spider-Man. So this movie is going to be filled with a lot of things that a young kid would go through. It's going to be filled with, the growing pains that come with trying to be a superhero. Not being a superhero, but trying to be one. And it just shows Peter in a way that we have never seen him before. When he dons the suit, it's not like he's suddenly this incredible badass who's got all the moves and these crazy reflexes. No, he still stumbles in combat. He still doesn't know what he's doing. Like, some of the fights in this movie are intentionally made to look like, bro, you could have handled that a lot smoother than you did. But that's the point. It's to show that he's not this master expertise. This movie takes place 2 months after the airport fight in Captain America Civil War. Just 2 months. Just 2 months after that. And a lot of things in the film, like I said, I'm not going to get into spoilers too much, but they show that this kid, just because he has these powers, doesn't mean he knows what he's doing with it. And I freaking loved it because, again, it goes hand in hand with the high school setting, the youth mentality. It shows that he is still a kid at the end of the day. Yes, he's called Spider-Man, not Spider-Boy, but he still needs to find his place in the world. He still needs to figure out what Peter Parker wants to be. And I freaking loved that angle because it was a nice breath of fresh air in the superhero genre, and it was also great for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know a lot of people were saying that, oh, the high school setting is the reason why, this is a breath of fresh air for the MCU. No. I loved how this was an extremely personal story for Peter Parker. Outside of, the stuff that we've seen before, we've seen him deal with the trials and tribulations of what it means to be Spider-Man and how, he's not going to always be able to get the life that he wants, but he has to do it for the greater good. In this movie, it shows that sometimes you just have to take things slow and take it for what it is before you try to become very bombastic. And who the hell is texting me during this video? Oh boy, it's Lars and Terrell. Oh boy, they're blowing up the chat. That's great. And I think it's a very, very nice breath of fresh air because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I feel like with the more recent movies, because, they have established a lot of the characters, they're more about setting up like set pieces and grand events, like with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Fucking phenomenal movie. It sets up the destruction of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the reintroduction of Hydra. you know, like the movies are great in what they do, but outside of, I guess, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, there really hasn't been a movie that is as personal to a character as Spider-Man Homecoming. Because first and foremost, it focuses on Peter, and what he's going through. It's not about setting up the future of the MCU. It's not about setting up these crazy conflicts that are going to happen later. It's focusing on Peter and the struggles that he goes through as a kid in high school, as a kid trying to be a superhero, and that is what you get with the film. I know it sounds like I'm regurgitating, but I have to hammer that point home because it's something that's never really been done in a Spider-Man movie. This is the closest thing that we have to a spectacular Spider-Man live-action film because it shows the heavy baggage that comes with this sort of thing and how it will affect you time in and time out. It's not just you putting on the mask and everything is cool. No, it's not. You still have the heavy baggage when you become, you know, Spider-Man or whatever superhero character that you may be. So I really loved how they handled that aspect of the movie. Now let's talk about some of the other things in the film. I want to address one of the complaints that, you know, the media has been talking about, and a lot of the detractors have been saying that, oh, this is going to be, you know, an Iron Man showcase. You know, they're showing so much Tony Stark in the trailers. This is not really going to be a Spider-Man movie. And yes, in the beginning it did seem like that from the trailers, but guys, take my word for it. Everything you saw in the trailers, that's the extent of the Tony Stark scenes. He's got maybe 3 to 4 principal scenes in the movie that are like maybe 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long at most. And they're more about helping Peter out and figure out who he is. It's not necessarily an Iron Man movie. He doesn't show up to help Peter at the end of the film. Even some of the scenes in the trailer that you saw, like Peter and Iron Man swinging into combat at the end, that's not in the movie. It's just handled very well. Like they only have maybe like 2 or 3 interactions in the movie, and you'll understand what I mean when you see the film. Like, but the real personal interactions that they have, those are the highlights of the film, and you've seen those in the trailers. So no, Tony Stark's introduction does not take away from Spider-Man Homecoming. Was it kind of like, was the advertising really overt with him, like, in all the posters and this, that, and third? Yes, because he's not in the movie that much. But we know the reasons why they did it, unfortunately, you know, due to franchise fatigue, and they want to show people that, hey, this is a Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man and not just another Spider-Man reboot. They had to show the icon of the MCU, the moneymaker, and that is Tony Stark. But thankfully, it was a Spider-Man movie first and foremost, and not Iron Man. What would this be? Iron Man 7 at this point? So that's a fear that needs to be laid to rest. Another fear that needs to be laid to rest, and something that I think I got to tip my hat off, my imaginary hat, to this man, John Watts. Finally, we have a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie where the villain is actually goddamn threatening. Like, I think what the Marvel movies needed to do first and foremost is that they need to make the villains characters before they go about their villainly ways. And that's what they did in this movie with Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture. He's actually a character. He's one of the first characters you see in the movie, and everything happening with him is very organic and natural and believable. It's like not this crazy revenge plot that we need to think about and yada 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 that you see in the other films. And the interaction that he has with Peter and everything, it's some really solid conversations and dialogue. And again, it flows naturally in the movie. It's not like, oh, we see him here, he does some bad guy things, disappears for the entire movie, and then comes out at the end because we have to stop him. No. And, like, it's just, finally, man, because the MCU has had a villain problem for the longest. And I'm glad that we're actually seeing directors who show that you can balance a story about the hero in addition to how the villain intertwines with said hero and how that affects them. So hats off to John Watts for finally giving us an MCU villain that is not only threatening, but actually, you know, makes us give a damn for the character. So yeah, finally. It took us like 10-something years, but we got it. Oh, man. Let's move on to a couple other things that I really liked in the film. The supporting cast was great. I think that everybody fit the bill well. I know when they were showing all the casting announcements, like, oh, this person's been cast in Spider-Man Homecoming, and that person's been cast in Spider-Man Homecoming, I was just sitting to myself thinking, damn, they're casting every damn Sue and Sally under the sun of this film. Man, I need to get on the next flight out to Atlanta, and I need to go just get on that damn set, man. I'll just have a damn cameo. It won't matter. It really won't. I'll just be there in the background. Who knows, man? I might be setting up, you know, well, the fact that I'm black, people assume I'd be like the 76th Miles Morales incarnation. That was an ongoing joke for the longest time. Every single black person they cast in Spider-Man Homecoming, people were thinking it was Miles Morales. It was so freaking hilarious, man. But yeah, the supporting cast was great. I really don't need to say much on them. I mean, will they show up in future Spider-Man movies? I'm sure, because what they're doing with this Spider-Man film, it seems to me like they're taking their time. They still have the training wheels on. If you know the movie, you'll understand that reference. And they're just trying to build this thing up very, very, very slowly. They want to take their time. They don't want to rush into things and have him be Spider-Man at the end of the movie just because. No, they don't. They want to take the time and explore different aspects of Peter's life and how it affects other people. And they're letting the franchise breathe. They're letting it breathe, which is something that, you know, the previous incarnations of the movies didn't. You know, in the Sam Raimi days, they didn't really know if they would get future movies after the first one or the second one, so they were kind of like, all right, let's just rush everything. And then with the Mark Webb movies, they were trying to create this like bigger universe than they needed to be, and then all the Sony intervention and meddling left us on the biggest cliffhanger of all cinematic movies. We're not going to get into the nonsense that was the Sinister Six debacle of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not going to get into that right now. But yeah, this movie, it's not trying to rush like, oh, we're going to have this character in here and this character in here and this character in there. It's like, nah, we're going to introduce some guys here. We're going to set them up organically and just see where it goes from there. Who knows? Maybe they might become this character. Maybe they might not. Or, you know, we might do something crazy and actually let them breathe and live before they don a costume in the next movie. I mean, is that a crazy concept apparently? Yeah, I think so. But I love how they're not trying to force things down your throat just so we can get to the crazy action set pieces. And yeah, man, that's really all I wanted to say about Spider-Man Homecoming. I personally think it's the best Spider-Man movie because first and foremost, it's a story about Peter Parker, and it's not trying to rush to all the crazy action set pieces. It's not trying to create something bigger than what it is. It's not trying to, you know, set things up for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are a couple Easter eggs here and there, but they're all, you know, just self-contained fun. It's not trying to create something like, oh, you know, we have plans for you, Peter Parker, and we're going to have a Sinister Six movie in the end credits. And the only people who would know that are people who read the comics, and more people were watching that were like, wait, what's with all these weaponries? What's happening right there? Nobody knows. So yeah, it's just I don't know, man. It's just when I'm explaining this to people and why I love it, it's just finally we got a Spider-Man movie that is Spider-Man to its core, while also still trying to let the characters breathe. And you don't really see that a lot with superhero movies. You try to rush into the big events, the big set pieces. Marvel's done that before. DC's done that before. Everybody's guilty of it. But in this movie, it's like, no, we're going to take our time. We're going to see where things go. And we're going to have fun all the while. And yeah, man, that basically sums up my thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming. I'll probably do a spoiler discussion if you guys want, because there are a couple of things that happen, mainly towards the end, I'm not going to get into, that do kind of, I don't want to say shatter the lore, but they definitely do raise some eyebrows. If you guys want to see spoiler discussion, let me know. And I might do a video on that in the next 30 years. By the time I do that, they might have a 5th Spider-Man reboot. Who knows? Anyways, from me for now, my name is NGS signing out. And like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace. I'm surprised we got all this done in one take. That is crazy.